Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to BackStage Pass. My name is Dane Butcher and I'm your host of the show. In today's episode, so excited to have a gorgeous and talented lady all the way from the Netherlands. Please welcome to the stage the incredible Candy Dulfer.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello. Hi there.
How are you?
So, I'm great.
Did you have a nice flight in?
I had some time to recuperate because we first rehearsed a little bit in LA, which was really nice. It's like a reunion. You see everybody again, and it takes an hour to say hi, and then half an hour to rehearse the songs. And then we had some time off, so it was really nice. Yeah.
Now, it's interesting to me because you started at the age of 7, am I right?
Yeah, earlier actually. I was 5, and I asked my dad, because my father is a saxophone player as well. He had all these different types of saxophones always lying around the house, and I asked him when I was 5 years old, like, can I do that, play that? And he gave me a soprano,
and the rest is history.
History.
When did you start singing?
Yeah, I actually never did.
Well,
What kind of question is that?
You started playing sax when you were 5, and
yeah, I know. Yeah, I've never been a serious singer, but I love singing. So it's always been a thing. Like, if I needed really serious vocals to be done on my records or either on my live albums, I've always had great vocalists. Like now, I'm bringing again the wonderful Mr. Chance Howard. You know, I could never do what he does. Yeah, it's amazing. And but I love singing, so I'll always do the backing vocals. And I always also found that when you play the saxophone, only in jazz circles it's really accepted, or people just come to your show and they watch you and they really get into it. But I had to play pop festivals, you know, in Holland there's not such a tradition. So I found that even if I would play at my most beautiful and most brilliant, I'd be like toot-a-doot, and they were like, like looking at this. So at one point I started grabbing the mic and saying things, singing things. So that's sort of, gradually developed, but it's still not great.
On Prince's musicology album, you were strongly featured in vocals.
Yeah. That's when he momentarily lost his mind. And he thought, who should I call? Should I ask Sheila to sing? Should I ask Shaka Khan? No, let's ask Candy. I don't know. I think it was his heaviest drug period. But I was really flattered, of course, to do that song with him, a song called Life of the Party. And it was great, really strange lyrics, but I nailed it in one take, I'm proud to say.
Did you?
Yeah, it was like on the top of my lungs. I don't think I could have done it twice.
But I hear that he is pretty fanatical about the music, and he...
Yeah, but it's funny, and what I found really interesting, that Prince is such a huge star and such a musical genius, but he just lets you try stuff, and if you don't get it in 2 or 3 times, it's just like, oh, let's try something else. He never stays for the negative, he always goes on to the next positive thing, and I've never had him like grill me or drill me for hours, to do a solo over. It was just like, oh, you can't do that, let's do this. And I think that's true sense of genius, and all the recording sessions and live things that I had with him were never grueling in that way. They were only grueling in the sense of when we did live shows, we would do a rehearsal 4 hours just for fun, then a jam, then we do the live gig, and then we would go after hours to some kind of club and play there for 5 hours. But that was all in fun. It was never repetitive or something.
When did you meet Prince?
I met him when I was 17 years old.
Wow.
And he came to my country, to the Netherlands, and actually he was about to play a big stadium, and I was always a huge fan. And then suddenly they called me up a week before if I could be in a sport act with my little band, with all young band, and we were like so nervous. And then we went there, and we all got excited. We rehearsed the whole week, of course, and then an hour before the show they canceled it. So they just said, "Oh, who are you?" Yeah, that girl at saxophone. Yeah, it's not going to happen tonight. And I was so disappointed and sad, but I was also angry because the whole week I had been giving out interviews to all the local newspapers and saying, yeah, I'm going to play for Prince. So it didn't happen. Long story short, I wrote him a note and I said, what are you doing? You miss a chance to see a girl play her ass off on the saxophone butt. 17 years old. Yeah, my father sort of raised me to be that way. I don't know. Or it's the Dutch way. So, and I gave that to his manager, who, bless his heart, he just chuckled, and he gave it to Prince apparently later, because then the next day I was asked to come and play with him on stage, which is of course much better than be the support act. So my big mouth got me somewhere.
Were you nervous? You must have been nervous, 17, and it's Prince.
The crazy thing is no, because when we played, he just asked me on stage. The only thing I was nervous about is that, it's a long story, so I can't explain everything, but I was there without my own saxophone, because I was actually going to the concert as a visitor, giving up any hope of playing ever. And then they called me again 1 hour for the show. Oh, Candy Dulfer, please come backstage. I thought my parents had a car accident or something. So I was like, what? You know, and they said, oh, you're the girl from yesterday. Yeah, now he wants you to play on stage. And I said, but I don't have a saxophone. And then they said, oh, we'll get you one from a store here. And then I got one like 5 minutes, and Sheila E was already, they were playing the set, and they were like, you're going to play in a minute. I was standing there, and I was trying the saxophone, and it sounded like this. And I was just like, I thought, I have to go on, but I'm going to die, because it's going to be the worst sound ever. And then 1 minute or 10 seconds before I had to go on, they were playing Now's the Time, a Charlie Parker song, funnily enough. And I know that song. And then 1 minute before I had to go on, my father, who drove from like an hour away, came with my saxophone. He already assembled it in the car while driving. And he just shoved it in my hands. I went on and I played, and I don't know what I played. So I had no time to be nervous when I was on the stage. It was just before. And I remember after my father said, well, you did a great job, girl. And he took a bottle of water and he wanted to pour us all a drink, and he just poured it like nervously all over everybody. My mom, me, the saxophone, the old one. So yeah, that was a big thing. And then I thought that was it. But then he started calling me after a few weeks, and he said that he liked what I did. And then from then on, I was in his band for about 10 years on and off.
Are you still in contact with him?
Yeah, sort of. But he's kind of a character. So sometimes we're friends. Sometimes we clash a little bit. And at the moment we're friends. But
at the moment.
No, it's not like that. It's just like it's like Van Morrison. I played with him so many years, but it's not that I call him up and say, hey Van, what's up? You know, that's what you do with nice people like Rick Braun or Jonathan Butler. There's so much more. What we have here on the cruise is in jazz music is much more familiar and fun and warm than in the pop scene where everything is like, people are big stars. The only person I have a real close contact with always is Dave Stewart, who made Lily Was Here for me. He's my mentor, and I always see him whenever I can.
Speaking of which, I wanted to bring that up, because was that the song at 19 when you were nominated for a Grammy?
Yeah, which is crazy also, because that was a song that Dave Stewart was making a soundtrack for a Dutch movie. The movie, nobody ever knows that movie anymore. But he was asked for it, and then luckily I had a boyfriend back then who was 12 years older than me. He was an actor in the movie. And he apparently sort of pushed the director and said, like, if you get Dave Stewart, you have to have Candy in the soundtrack. And apparently that worked, so that was really great for me. And then we did that soundtrack together, and that was the beginning of a really great relationship with Dave and many projects that we did together. But it was just like an improvisation. It was a soundtrack. I never thought it would be a single. And I remember having recorded Lily and then coming out of the studio, and Inge said, so how was it, my mom? And I said something like, I don't know, it's like not something I would ever record. And then 2 months later they said, are you aware of the fact that they play you on the radio? I said, I don't have an album or a record out anyway. What would they play? They said, it's a song called Lily Was Here. I said, no, it's not me, I can't be. And then later I found out it was that song, and then it went #1 everywhere and got me a Grammy nomination.
Were you surprised?
Yeah. I was totally surprised, and the whole Grammy thing I never understood anything about it. I was just like, whoa, the whole time. and the whole Grammy was crazy, and I remember seeing Kenny G and saying to him, I was 19, what did I know? And I was like, hi, may the best man win. I only got the nomination. I think Kenny G had like 8 prizes. He didn't even bother to pick 6 up or something. He was just like singing in his chair. Yeah, I got that too. Yeah. And I was like bouncing on my seat, and I was like, woo, I got nominated. So it was a big honor.
And you were with Van Morrison for how long?
No, on and off. I still play with him sometimes, but I think I've known him for 15 years. So yeah, he's a great, like a poet. You know, when he sings, it's amazing. The difference between his offstage and his onstage persona is so great. I mean, for me, he's a sweet guy, and then on stage he can be pretty grumpy. But when he opens his mouth and starts singing, it's just the most beautiful thing ever. You think he's like a 21-year-old prince singing there, you know, like a knight in...
It's interesting because last week, I sat down with Earth, Wind and Fire, and we were talking to Philip Bailey about how his voice over the years just seems to get richer and richer. Do you feel the same with Van Morrison?
I do, because he's like somebody who gets his message gets deeper and deeper,
Right.
and his voice has always been great. But now, and I think I have to say that there's been this period where he was sometimes a bit difficult. Although to me and my mom, he was always super sweet, but he would be sort of grumpy on stage. But the last few years, it's like he finally realized, like, wow, this is what I do in life, and look, you know, what this has
Right.
brought me. And I've had this realization my whole life. But some people, when they get, I've never been that famous. It's weird, you know, when you get that famous, the whole world, you know, suddenly acts different to you. So I understand some of that paranoia and that weirdness. But it's like he found the thing. He's like, yay! And now every time I see him perform, he's just like the happiest ever. So it's really nice.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Backstage Pass. Stay tuned. We'll be back with Candy Dulfer. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Backstage Pass. I'm here with the gorgeous, talented, and the fashionista herself, Miss Candy Dulfer.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thank you.
I do want to talk to you about fashion for a couple of reasons. The fashion magazine in the Netherlands, Jackie, nominated you as the third best dressed woman in all of the Netherlands.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
I couldn't agree more. I would have said
thank you.
first, actually.
Thank you. No, they're very nice. They always nominate me. Only when you show up, you get the prize. So they always call first and say, so are you in town? And I'm never. And then they say, oh, okay, thank you, bye. So I think one day maybe if I show up and I still look good, maybe I'll get the prize one day. But it's an honor. It's nice because, as you know, in Europe, people are very into fashion, and there's so many great looking and great dressing girls there out there and ladies. So it's a big honor to be nominated like that. Yeah, it's fun.
But it's a nice, I mean, it's interesting because you look great. Two, you sing, but you also play the sax. But to be able to focus on fashion is kind of a totally different road to music.
Well, in a way it is, but in the other way it's not. I mean, I grew up, you know, watching Sonny Rollins. Sonny Rollins already back then had matching big sneakers, white sneakers, when he would wear a white, you know, shirt. And I saw
Right.
Miles Davis. Now he looked like a superstar also, you know, with his Porsche glasses and his beautiful. So it's always been. I grew up as a kid in the jazz era, where I sort of, I don't know, the jazz was already. Like, how do you call it? When I would look at musicians, for me as a kid, it would be extra interesting if they would also do something on the stage, not just the great music. You know, when you're 9 or 11, you're like, okay, great, he plays like Coltrane, he's fantastic, but you want to see some show, some glitter and excitement as a kid. And I always remember that, and I still like that in bands. So, and it's not all about clothes or something. Sometimes when you see Tower Power, for instance, it's going to be, that's just one big show, and they do nothing but playing music, but
Right.
the way they hold their horns and the sense of humor and the doctor playing the baritone, there's just something exciting aside from that great music. So that's what I always thought for myself, I'm going to do it as well. And since I'm a woman, it's a little bit easier.
Right.
And I knew that, I think I was 13 or 14, I saw Sheila E. for the first time when she came to Holland with Princess. And that was just like, wow, that's what I want to do. I never accomplished her greatness in neither fields, but the fact that she was always so good and such a great real musician, so serious, but at the same time looked like a model with the super coolest clothes on, that has always made an impression on me. So that's always something I want to do. I mean, I know it's not the most important thing, but it's always something that's been attractive to me. And then I had my mom, who's like a style icon, always been. Like when she would pick me up from school, all the other parents would just like, you know, she always looked great. She used to have an afro, red afro hair.
Did she?
Yeah, that like
I have to see
in
a
the
photo
80s
of
was
that.
so hip. Yeah, I have a picture. I'll show it to you. And she was just the hippest. So yeah, that's how I grew up. My father's also crazy about, of course, music is number one, but second, his collection of leather jackets from the 60s till now is like, it has to go in a museum one day. It's crazy. So
Wow.
it's no wonder I grew up to be like that.
And speaking of which, in 3 days' time, you're launching your own fashion line.
Yeah, which is so exciting because that's just like, it's a side project, but it was just as exciting as making a new album because it's the same creative process. At first you just, you know, thoughts come to you and you think like, oh, it should be like this, and then you get...
So do you physically draw
Yeah.
the designs, or do
Yeah.
you have designers submit things?
Yeah, because you have those lines where the musicians or the artists just come in and they go like, oh, I like flowers and I like yellow, and then they breeze out again. I've spent 1.5 years every week going to the Max offices in Europe, but I think it's really great that they let me do that because I'm not a designer. I've never designed in my life. I just had some ideas. And together with my best friend Tamara, together we developed the line. And of course, the people from the technical staff, they would help me. You know, like they would say, like, well, we are used to doing it like this, so if you don't mind, we'll give the legs the pants 2 legs. Oh, okay. No, but it was a really good communication and a collaboration. But yeah, in a sense, they just let us do our thing. And the great thing is that I got this job through the CEO, who's actually a huge smooth jazz fan and knew me from the gigs. He came to San Francisco a couple of times when we played there. So that's how I got the gig and did those clothes. But in the end, we combined it with music as well, and we did a lot of gigs for that factory and for the company. So it's all like intertwined a little bit.
And because I know that people in the United States, it's not going to be launched over here, but
no.
If you wanted to get it online, where would you go?
Well, in Canada. If you live in Canada, yay, okay. If you want to, you can order there. And Europe, Russia, everywhere except the US, which had to do with a custom thing because the company I do it for is a European company. So that's too bad. Okay. But somewhere this week, I will be giving away 2 shirts from my line.
Nice.
And I have to think of some kind of competition, but I'll come up with something, probably on the gig. So, yeah.
Now, also, which is exciting, on this cruise, you have a new single.
Yes.
That is going to premiere on board.
Yeah, it is. It's actually the US or the overseas premiere. It's a song called What You Do When the Music Hits, and it's actually a collaboration together with a Dutch DJ called Roog, R-O-O-G. And he's a great DJ. It's something like he's into lounge, but he's also into sort of heavier house music, but in a really musical way. And we made this song, so it's very wild. So I'm curious to see what you guys think. But up until now, we got always everybody dancing to it. It's very Latin flavored. It's kind of fun. So this is going to be the premiere here.
Recently, you were featured on a show that a lot of people are familiar with, but the Dutch version of XFactor.
Yes.
As one of the judges.
Yeah.
How did you go?
Well, it went great. I didn't win, although I had a great singer sort of almost till the end, but she didn't win in the end because she wasn't like 14 and a boy band, basically.
Is that who won?
Oh
14-year-old boy
yeah,
band?
Yeah, 14-year-old boy.
I've not been able to see the show because it's
No, it's Dutch. It's unfortunate, but it's the same like XFactor USA. It was a lot of fun, and I thought it was a great honor that they asked me because normally they only have vocalists doing that because it's all about vocals, and
right.
I'm a saxophone player, so somewhere they had enough faith in me, and the team from Simon Cowell came and they really liked me, so they said they wanted to do next year with me, so that's great. And although it has nothing to do with jazz music, it is fun because what I love so much about it is that I really got to work with the talent and really got to see them grow, over the period of like 2 months. I could really do stuff with them, throw them in the deep end. I had them do a jam session somewhere where I always jam, and a lot of pop artists don't know anything about jamming like we do here.
Right.
They're like, oh, and she came out, my candidate, her name's Astrid Tan. She came out flying, she was so good. So it was sort of like a really satisfying thing to do, coaching from somebody from beginning to end.
How much hands-on do you have with the act?
Well, I had a lot. Basically, they let me do anything I wanted. And the only pressure that we had was time, because every time I wanted to sit down with the Candy, at first I had 8, and I wanted to sit down with them and jam and, vocal skills, blah, blah, blah. There would always be the director going, yeah, can I borrow you for a second? Because now we have to film you walking the way, the runway here, or we have to film you in the dressing room acting like you like this drink and stuff. So it was always a challenge to get as much time with the competition as possible. But in the end, I think we really succeeded in putting something great on stage. And she really said, and I think so, she learned a lot from the whole experience. So for her as an artist, it made her grow a lot. And the other artists, I'm still in touch with. We're going to do a gig together with all of them. I thought it would be fun in a month or so. So it's been like a big family. It was fun.
Where do you think Astrid's future is going to go?
Well, she's really like a singer-songwriter, like a girl who sits behind the piano. She writes amazing songs. And since the show, although she didn't win, she had so many opportunities and so many great TV shows. So I think she's going to go far. And she's just like very introvert. She has to work on that. But she already did a little, and now, yeah, she's really coming into her own. That was very satisfying. It was the most fun of the whole thing.
You sound like a proud mother.
Yeah, I felt a little bit like like that. Yeah, I was.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And we're so looking forward to your shows on board. And congratulations with the line and the new album and XFactor. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been my honour to sit down with the gorgeous, the talented, the fashionista herself. Put your hands together and thank Candy Dulfer.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.